My name is Jennifer Henderson, founder and CEO of Tilt. We work with organizations to streamline the employee leave life cycle, whether that be parental, COVID-19 leave, disability, etc. I'm a longtime Fort Collins resident, CSU alum, and really excited to share some of the learnings and work that we've had at Tilt with the audience today. I was posed these questions in regards to preparing for this presentation, specifically around implications of the current state with women in the workforce and the greater business community that we interface with. So first and foremost, we're a very data-driven organization, and to that end, I may be sharing some data that may be already known by the community and maybe hopefully some new information. So this community in 2017, as you all know, commissioned the Talent 2.0 report, which I stayed very close to as a recent alum of Leadership Fort Collins. In that report, access to affordable childcare was cited as a barrier for talent by regional employers. Unfortunately, the current state has definitely amplified that pain point, as you know. This is nothing new to the Fort Collins community. The total economic impact on women who are performing childcare while working full-time right now is estimated to be at $341 million. In addition, we've seen some advocates anticipate a wave of permanent closures in the space of childcare to the tune of almost 500,000 childcare slots permanently removed on an already constrained ecosystem. Often, people are relying on family and grandparents to help with childcare. That's unfortunately not a solution. As you know, that's a higher risk community. Furthermore, we've learned that 13% of working parents have lost their job or reduced their hours due to lack of childcare. And last but not least, we know 1 out of 4, 25% of women have reported becoming unemployed during this pandemic because of a lack of childcare. That's twice the rate of men losing their position due to the same occurrences. Some researchers have warned that this epidemic and pandemic could actually set the female workforce back an entire generation. So what I really wanted to use my time here today with the community and council is to look forward in terms of solutions. I have the absolute luxury of partnering with some of the most progressive-minded organizations in the country and have been able to observe some solutions that they have implemented. I want to emphasize that as I go through these solutions, I am of complete resolution that there is not a silver bullet here. This is not a one-size-fits-all, and as much as I wish I could provide that solution, it just simply does not exist. What I hope to go through in some of these solutions is potentially think outside of the box with council and community and see what potentially Fort Collins could do for its community here. So we've seen additional funding for daycare from organizations, either in stipends, reimbursements, or on-call scenarios. In addition, we've really seen in the communications here in Fort Collins an ask to stop the one-size-fits-all for PSC. To double click on that particular solution, what I mean there is that we have schools, particularly the mountain schools, who have class sizes of under 10 students and are still not able to have in-person school days due to what teachers have said. PSC is saying you can't have your cake and eat it too, and really emphasizing that we'd like to take a more situational approach to that to allow some students to re-enter the school if parents choose to. Additionally, there's been a lot of talk around what's called pandemic pods. Unfortunately, that's really not a solution for the general population because it often requires quite a bit of income to be able to allow for that type of a tutoring scenario. So really that's seeing some backlash and being coined as an elitist solution. From an employer lens, we've seen obviously the flexible schedules, so not having meetings always be on video, having schedules completely flexible to family obligations, etc. Nothing new there. Additional PTO, some organizations have stood up additional stipends in flexible time off. Revisiting KPIs and performance structures, really being understanding that delivering results that may have been stood up at the beginning of the year can't come to fruition as we turn to the fourth quarter of this year. Monitoring the male and female flexibility asks, really knowing that women are predominantly asking for this flexibility, which is perpetuating the gender inequality within the workplace. So putting the onus on the organizations to level set and make sure that gender neutral policies and accommodations are what they're putting out into their employee population. Some ideas for municipalities from a crowd sharing capacity is childcare support. As I mentioned, the Talent 2.0 report obviously cited this originally in 2017, but if there's an optionality for Fort Collins to create, especially for essential workers, childcare in terms of accessibility as well as cost considerations. On-site partnerships with essential employers. We know our top employers here in the city of Fort Collins, CSU, we have Woodward, we have some very large companies that we could partner with and potentially stand up and erect on-site childcare for not only their, but potentially other community partnership childcare needs. As we look into more of a solution mentality from the rest of the country, I captured some ideas here that I thought were pretty compelling. Organizations that we are seeing being highly effective in providing this for their staff have an on-site, off-site daycare option, both backup care and shared care at a minimum. Again, emphasizing this is a situational approach and not a one-size-fits-all. Fractional bandwidth coverage during long-term and short-term leaves, allowing job sharing or those types of outside-of-the-box scenarios. And absolutely mandatory COVID-related manager training. There's a lot of disruption in our organizations that we're supporting with managers who are just not adept at navigating these situational conversations and providing accommodations where they can, again, thinking outside of the box and not operating in the letter of the policy, but the intent of the policy for their organization. So this is just, as I mentioned, a start of some of the crowd sharing ideas that I've seen in the space that I'm lucky enough to be a part of. I'm hoping some of them are useful and happy to talk in addition to any of these that I've listed today. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Council. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak on behalf of small businesses in Northern Colorado. I am the co-founder of Simply HR. We are a human resources consulting firm providing HR support for businesses in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado for the past 4 years, helping them understand and apply rules that come with having employees. Recently, our jobs have also been helping organizations really be creative in how they continue to provide services while also juggling the schedules and workloads of their working parent employees. Our clients' organization size ranges from approximately 2 to over 500 employees, and we have touches with over 100 organizations here in Fort Collins through direct consulting through the Small Business Development Center, and also acting as a consultant and trainer with the Larimer County Workforce Center. I'm also a proud resident of Fort Collins for over 20 years, also a CSU alum, and I have twin boys who are in 4th grade at Poudre School District. So I'm also speaking on behalf of not just businesses, but also a working family and parent. I wanted to share just a few statistics, but lots of narrative from our community. To start, Colorado Sense Institute of Colorado is a nonpartisan research organization focused specifically on aspects of the economy. They recently reported labor force participation rates by gender, aged 25 to 64, both with and without children, from February to July. Unfortunately, we don't have these statistics quite yet for August. In looking at men in the workforce, both with and without children, their participation rate in the labor force actually increased from February to July. They had an increase of 1%. Women without children had a slight decrease of 1%. And the really staggering statistic here, I believe, is women with children. There was a 9% decrease in labor force participation. And again, that number is only current as of July. It does not include August or obviously September numbers, where we anticipate those numbers decreasing again drastically. According to Common Sense Institute, almost 179,000 women voluntarily left the state labor force between February and May, compared to 88,000 men. Both, of course, staggering statistics, but significantly more for women. When we have spoken to the organizations that we work with here in Fort Collins, a few examples of how they're being affected, I've highlighted. One is a medical office with 5 locations. They're currently considering 1 location temporarily because of their number of employees on reduced schedules or leaves of absence. A marketing agency with less than 10 employees has one employee who quit entirely to take care of her child, and others at a significantly reduced schedule. So for an agency of 10, that is a big hit. There's an engineering firm that we work closely with. Their female administrative staff have both taken reduced hours, while seemingly their predominantly male engineer schedules seem much less affected. A business owner and his wife have decided that she will leave her state government job to take care of 2 children at home while he continues his entrepreneurial business. And we speak with lots of child care facilities who are having difficulty hiring and retaining staff. Their demographics of employees are typically young women, many of which are mothers and really single mothers. So there's no way for them to continue work at this point. Obviously, lots of small businesses and entrepreneurs in our community with parents working different and fewer hours to accommodate school support. We're also seeing a significant stress on non-parents as workloads are redelegated to those non-parents. And of course, for all of those of us, myself included, who have children at home and we're trying to support virtual learning, we have distracted employees. So implications on parents, as Jennifer highlighted, are really financial impacts for all of the solutions that we've really seen highlighted. So working non-traditional hours, taking pay cuts for abbreviated hours, hiring tutors, pods require lessened or abbreviated schedules, or hiring a teacher to facilitate that. And really, single parents are the hardest hit. Nationally, 23% of single-parent households faced a permanent or temporary layoff in May or June, compared to only 12% of households with 2 parents, and 9% of households with children. So really significant impacts for single parents. Like Jennifer, we've also been working with organizations to help them problem solve. They're really working with their employees, very well-intentioned organizations that I'm proud to be a part of here in Fort Collins. They are also exploring job sharing opportunities, allowing children to come to work with their parents so that parents can continue to work and be supportive of their online learning children. And they're really having seek to understand conversations, surveying their employees to see how they can be of support, but obviously trying to juggle the scheduling difficulties while continuing to have a successful business. We also have a handful of possible suggestions for the city. Of course, many of them are financial asks. So subsidizing child care costs for families, or pods, so that workplaces could implement pods to provide tutors. Also, perhaps there could be committees of working parents to provide feedback to the city. Also, a largely hit demographic in Fort Collins because of our freelance community are those business owners and freelancers who aren't part of large organizations who can subsidize. So perhaps there are ways to offer collective resources for those small business owners, and also providing technical support for non-traditional caregivers such as grandparents. We realize much of this is temporary. However, our biggest concerns are long-term discriminatory practices towards caregivers, difficulty for parents re-entering a workforce with potentially fewer opportunities in the future, and perpetuating a pay and opportunity gap that already exists. I think that is all that I can really summarize in this short period of time, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.